Life Camp USA is a nonprofit organization that mentors young men who have lost a father due to military or law enforcement service. Life Camp USA provides an all-expenses-paid, week-long, world-class camp experience that inspires, equips, and navigates these fatherless young men through some of life's toughest moments. Life Camp USA's mentors serve grieving families by helping these sons establish healthy identities, values, character, and goals without the crucial aid of a father in their life. To learn more about Life Camp's mission, visit lifecampusa.org. Again, that's lifecampusa.org.
Welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast, where leaders are empowered to equip and disciple men.
Welcome to the No Regrets Leadership Podcast. My name is Steve Sonderman, and I am so glad that you are joining us today for this session. And as you know, over each week, we want to speak with either a leader, an author, a key thought leader in the area of leadership, an area of ministry to men, and to provide a little encouragement on how you can more effectively minister to the men in your sphere of influence. And this week we have a wonderful guest, Brian Tome. Brian is the pastor at Crossroads Church in Cincinnati, and he is the founder of that church and has a special emphasis and heart for ministry to men. And Brian is going to be one of our speakers this year at the conference on February 3rd. And so we thought it'd be a great opportunity for you to get to know him and to hear a little bit more of his heart and vision and the type of ministries that he is involved in. So Brian, thanks so much for taking the time to be with us today.
Steve, I'm honored. Thanks for having me on.
Great. Well, listen, why don't you just take a couple minutes and just tell our listeners about yourself, tell them about your ministry and sort of what you've been up to lately.
Sure, thanks. I was born at a very early age, and then I was adopted, and I went my whole life feeling the way some adopted kids do, even though your birth mother blessed you by giving you a shot at life. You kind of feel like you don't belong. It's a normal story with adopted folks. I'd look at my dad. He didn't look like me, didn't act like me, nothing like that. And I never had a ceremony where I was told I was a man. So I kept trying to prove I was a man. And I felt insecure because I didn't seem like my dad. He was Ivy League trained, and it took me 7 years to get through on my undergraduate degree later on. He was shorter, I was taller, on it went. And so I just really was acting out and trying to prove I was a man, which always happens through unmanly, unhealthy things, we don't try to prove we're a man and therefore we want to lose 40 pounds or prove we're a man, so therefore help elderly people across the street. It's more destructive things. So when I had a kid, my own son at birth, it was a rare thing because I was only the second person I saw at that point in my life who shared my DNA. And I realized that I've got to train this guy and I've got to raise him up right. I got to do for him what wasn't done for me. I got to tell him he was a man, and I got to enable him to be who God wants him to be. So that was sort of part of my life, big part of my life. And then I stumbled into this camping process and primal experiences with men. And from that started Man Camp to help thousands of men from across the country. And here I am, even though I'm traditional pastor in many ways, I'm spending more and more time to try to reach into the sons in God's family.
Wonderful. Well, we're gonna want to hear more about that in just a few minutes. But you're gonna tell me what gets you excited about speaking to men, whether that's at like the No Regrets Conference, at Man Camp, at other venues and situations. But why men? How did you sort of develop a heart for that and a passion for that? And what gets you excited about that?
Well, Steve, it started out because I bought into the belief that most of us have, and that is, as a man goes, so goes a family, so goes a culture, so goes the world. And I think that's true. I do. I think that's true. But that's where I started. Now, where I really am is I just see dudes hurting all over the place. Yeah. Every statistic related to men is going down and to the left. Down, 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 doobie-doo, down, down. Not good. We have 4 times more likelihood of suicide than women do. I saw a study just a few weeks ago that said 44% of all men consider suicide once every 2 weeks. Things are just not there. So I I really have a heart, and I think we need to be giving those who are males in our culture, and I'm not using the term men yet, I'm just saying males, so the difference between boys and men. Yeah. I think that we need to be giving them greater measure of compassion and greater measure of help. And what I think I bring to the conversation is I think I bring a masculine tongue. A lot of guys are not hearing about Christ, about his saving power in a tongue that they understand, or at least not this sort of classic guy who works with his hands, who rough around the collar, or who may be white collar, but he's got an inner junior high kid who's ready to laugh at any moment. He's got a lot on his plate. I just don't think that the modern American church speaks with a masculine tongue. And I like to speak into guys and help them any way I can, because I think I'm one of the guys who speaks in a way that men can understand. There's a few of us. There's not a lot of us.
Mm-hmm. So why don't you go into that further? What does it mean to speak with a masculine tongue? What does that look like? What does that feel like? How have you developed that over the years? Okay,
so the church, this is well documented, well theorized. I'm not going to break any new ground here, but the church, the average America's church, is made of women and made for women. Mm-hmm. And we don't even realize that we're doing it. As an example, our small group programs. Our small group programs at our church are generally, hey, we all like to get together, right? Let's get together and study a book. Well, men don't read books. I don't make a lot of money in the books I write because I've been writing for men, and men don't buy books. They tend to not read books. My marketing angle is to get women to buy books for their man who they're likely not going to read, or at least a good percentage of them, But yet in our church, it's the way we program and think things, even the songs we sing, they're with a feminine tongue. Like a song that I love. I'm a big worship guy. A song I love. What a beautiful name it is, the name of Jesus. What a beautiful name it is. All this. I just think, as a man, no man wants to, Brian, what a beautiful name Brian is. I don't think that way, right? Now, later on that song, it says, what a powerful name it is. What a powerful name. That's true. But with a masculine tongue, everything is sort of love songy. It's what women want to hear. And that makes sense because our primary target audience in churches, whether we want to admit it or not, is women. It's the vast majority of people in our churches, and a high percentage of the men who are in our churches are coming to our churches because they're saying, okay, I'll serve my wife. I'll go to the church that she wants to. Right. So when you want to have a masculine tongue, I can't just speak to the women at Crossroads who may be in the majority. I've got to speak in a way that the men who could come today for the first time, that they could hear me. Mm-hmm. And I got to design the church around that. And our church is clear on that. Doesn't mean we're not for women. We still have more women than men. Women are rocks. I believe in women in every level of leadership of the church. I'm one of those weird guys who kind of plays both sides of the fence. Mm-hmm. But strategically and tactically, we have to see that we're doing a horrible job reaching this generation of men, and someone's got to do something to step in that fray. And I'm glad you're doing that, Steve.
Well, thank you. And you too. As you interact with men and you spend time with them and hanging out with them, what are some of the major or main issues you see that they're facing and that the church is ignoring in their conversations with men?
Yeah, the main issue they're having, and they're not in tune enough to even identify it unless you say it, and then they go, oh yeah, that's me. The main issue is loneliness, far and away. It's loneliness. Lonely. And if someone's saying, well, for men's ministry, what am I going to do for men? I can tell you right now, the most important thing is not giving men more teaching, but that may be fine. The most important thing is figuring out how can you connect men to other men in healthy relationship. What is that? And it's probably going to be thing-based. Women connect with people, men connect with things. So it's probably creating things that guys might be drawn to, where hopefully there's a relationship that's struck up. I think if we in churches can do that, I think it'd be great. And I actually also think, Steve, here, this is a thing that we in the church can be only in class. There are a lot of studies, a lot of talk about how the American church is in the decline, going just way, way down. One of the unique niches we maintain in American culture, in which we really are only in class, we create connective tissue unlike no other institution.
Right.
No sports team, no corporation, no nothing is going to enable guys to actually connect and have relationship. All the things that used to do that in our culture, for the most part, they're gone. Yep. Bowling leagues are mostly gone. Softball leagues are mostly gone. The Elks Club, it's gone. The Moose Club, it's gone. My dad used to be in bridge clubs. I don't know anybody's in a bridge club anymore. It's gone. This connective tissue is over. And where do people go to get that? I think this is one of the ways that our churches should be excelling.
Yeah, you look at a lot of guys, and in the high school or college, they were on a team and they were part of that fabric, and it knit them together, and they have those memories. Or maybe they're in a fraternity, and that was big because it provided that sense of community and mission. And now after they leave college, there aren't a lot of things, like you said, that provide that, but guys are looking for it.
Ask an average guy, Steve, who are your friends? And they're going to tell you three things. 90% of guys, my understanding is going to tell you three things, okay? One, they're going to say, well, my wife's my best friend, which I would say she's more than a best friend. She's your flesh. And there's things about you that she was not going to understand because she's a woman. She wants to empathize, but she's not going to fully get it. I don't think she fits the friend category. That's too low of a category. And they'll say, well, my buddy's in college where yada, yada. I say, okay, great. You've been out of college now for 10 years. How often do you see them? Once a year we do a golf vacation or so. Okay, fine. But those guys aren't in your life. They don't see what's happening. They're not noticing when you're down. You're not able to laugh and bond with them and support one another through the year. Okay. And they'll say, well, I got some guys at work. Yeah, okay, great. You've got guys at work. That means when you leave your job, and it's not like the old days when my dad was at Westinghouse, or your dad, Steve, you'd be in one job forever. We're making like 5 or 6 career changes. It's just the way our current economy is. Those are people of convenience. When you leave or they leave, you're not going to be friends with them. So there's this void of who is that I'm with right now that could actually stand the test of time and I could enjoy my life with. Most men do not have that. And I think that's why we're in peril.
Yeah. So, Brian, from your perspective at your place, what do you do to help guys get connected and to build those type of friendships? What does it look like for you guys?
Yeah. Well, shamefully, we don't do a lot.
Okay.
At least not as much as you think we would do. We do a man camp once a year, which is a really big deal. We have had 42 states, 4 countries represented several months ago, 2,600 guys. We do that once a year. We cycle probably, I don't know, a lot of dudes through that. And what happens in that, it's not just the primal camping experience with games and fun stuff they do and deep intensive stuff, but it's a fireside conversation. 2 nights, guys sitting around the fire having a beer or having whatever their favorite beverage is, talking about questions that we give them to open up their lives. And hopefully that fire time transcends, and we find that people do then have some sort of group life that happens outside after that. That's one thing we do. And then we generally do once a year some kind of event, would have some sort of grill out, beer tasting, fires, and maybe a speaker who's at that event, which almost always is me. And the point there again is to get people knowing each other, and then as they get together, discuss something that was said in the midst of the fun time. You know, maybe they'll start an ongoing relationship. We'll also have like cornhole or horseshoes, something like that. Just standard stuff. It's nothing innovative. Again, guys connect with things before they connect with people. So just some things for people to do and increase the hit rate of relationships with.
Yeah, I love that. You're developing sort of a pool, an environment where guys can connect, and then with those they connect with more to take that next step.
Right.
Are you looking for a Bible study that will forge a deep and lasting connection with other guys? Then the Base Camp Bible Study Series is for you. Base Camp is a series of studies that will guide your men through the scriptures, addressing core disciplines of the Christian faith, while challenging them to become authentic and committed followers of Jesus. Each lesson includes a digital study guide, teaching videos, and leader notes to help facilitate transformative discussions. Start your spiritual journey today with Basecamp. Visit noregretsmen.org/basecamp. Again, that's noregretsmen.org/basecamp.
And then I do some other stuff I'm not sure if I'd classify it as ministry in our church or just things I do with my own ministry. You can subscribe to an email and I'll give you devotional thoughts once, I don't know, every few weeks or so comes to your email inbox. I'll try to encourage you and say some things. We got some stuff like that, but it's really not a massive amount, Steve. I think oftentimes the massive amount of things that happen in some men's ministries are happening because they're trying to overcome a church that's not speaking the masculine tongue. So the more your church is understanding of men and how they're wired for that, I think the less programming you have to have outside of that.
Yeah, I think, one of the things I've seen in churches as we work with them and help them understand this is that the culture you develop is more important than the program that you have.
Right.
It's that masculine tongue, like you said, is developing an environment where a guy feels safe. He feels like it's relevant and safe, and people are being authentic and real. Much more likely to be a part of something like that than like you said, having this huge smorgasbord of activities just to keep them busy.
Great point. I'll give you an example. Just today, our church has an app, and we have encouraged people to be in the app, and we read a chapter of the Bible together. And if you want to journal on things, you can journal. And today it was just same as yesterday. We're in Galatians, and the translation, Paul's talking about circumcision. And he says, well, why not just emasculate yourselves? Well, emasculating yourself, technically we know what that means, but it means something that's much more emotional in our current cultural context. And what Paul says literally is, why don't you cut it off? He says, if you're so hot on spiritual maturity and growth means you're going to cut the skin off of the end of your penis, why not go all the way? Just cut your whole dick off.
Yeah.
That's literally what he says. Not dick. He didn't put that. He says literally cut it off. So that right there, that's a masculine tongue. Like guys would talk to each other. Come on, man. What are you talking about? But we can't say that. Let's say emasculate you. Let's talk around it. Let's not give that brutal, guttural, straightforward talk that Paul gave that was in the Bible. That's just too masculine. It's not sedate enough. It's not sanitized enough. And I just think we've done too much to sanitize things and not be offensive, and we're lacking clarity, and we're also lacking a masculine tongue, because a lot of men respond to that instead of saying things in a way that women might be upset with.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, we have the guys want the truth, and they want it straight, and not beat around the bush type thing, and to soften it and make it nice and soft and easy and whatever. They want it straight.
Yes.
So, Brian, we'll have some senior pastors listening, some associate pastors. What are the men of the church looking for from you or from a senior pastor in the local church? Besides the things we've talked about already, what specifically, as you think about being the head of the senior pastor, what does that look like? And what are the guys looking for?
I think the most important thing is modeling. They're looking for a model to follow. Every guy inside of his mind, when he sees a guy speaking from stage, he asks himself the question, would I want his life? Does he look like he's leading a life that I would want? And if the answer to that is yes, then he's going to listen to you. So I think we've got to look healthy. I don't mean we got to look like buff and ridiculous. In fact, I think sometimes we can be so focused on being buff and ridiculous, the average guy goes, is that all he's doing is working out and look in the mirror? Because I don't want that life. I heard somebody crack on recently a dad bod. And I thought, dad bod? Yeah, you know why they have a dad bod? Because they don't have a job where they can work out as part of their day and they work 8 to 6, 9 to 6, and they get up in the morning and they have a quiet time with God, and they get home exhausted, and they have dinner with their family, and then they read to their kids an extra chapter before they go to bed, and they're in perpetual exhaustion because they have a normal job. And you're going to crack on them because it's a dad bod. No, I'm going to crack on you because you're detached from reality of what a normal guy deals with, right? So we've got to be in some sort of balance there. But also, someone's got to look at us, and our illustrations have got to be things they go, oh, okay, I relate to you. I understand you. Oh, okay. I think it's modeling. They want to see, are we taking care of ourselves? Are we laughing? Are we modeling being vulnerable and telling bad things about ourselves? Or are we just modeling how we're really a good guy and telling those illustrations? Are we modeling for people that we have fun, that we laugh? Are we modeling for people that we have a hobby that we follow? I've done studies, and I do mean just anecdotal studies. I'm shouting this from the rooftops. I tell every podcast I'm on, and it's finally taking root, Steve, because I'm hearing people tell me this, that they heard somebody else say it. I'm like, good. Do they give credit to me? That's fine if they haven't, as long as they're doing it. I know pastors who fall, cross is big enough. I know those dudes personally, or I can get to those folks who know them and ask them how. Do you know the two things that are in common with all pastors who fall? At least the two things that I found in every situation I've investigated, two things are always present. You know what they are?
Tell us.
One, they have no life-giving hobbies. Their hobby is working out, or their hobby is reading. And by the way, I guess there's some people who do that and they never fall. I'm just talking about the people who do fall. They have you have to have a life-giving hobby, and people want to see that. Like, oh, wow, he rides a motorcycle, or oh, he finger paints. Oh, interesting. He like puts time in it. Doesn't have to be some stereotypical masculine thing, but they're going, oh, interesting. I haven't had a hobby like forever. And the second thing is close friendships inside the church. They don't have close friendships inside the church, which again goes hand in hand. Men connect through things. And so when a man has a life-giving hobby, he needs a friend to do it with, because the friend has knowledge that he doesn't have about the situation. They just to enjoy it. They laugh together with it, whether it's hunting or restoring a car or building a deck, whatever it is. It's those two things. And so I think that we need to be modeling those two things as pastors. People need to see that we have friends and we talk about our friends. And they need to see that we laugh, and they need to see that we have a date night. They need to see that we take some modicum care of ourselves. All these things I think are critical. Modeling that they need to see that we have friendships with people who don't know Jesus. Yeah. All that stuff is critical.
Yeah, that's good. I love that, because I think I go back to, I think of the survey that Chuck Swindoll and Howard Hendricks did years ago, probably 20, 30 years now, of all those, 300 or so fallen pastors. And there were two common things. And one of them was the fact that not one was in an accountability relationship or had a deep friendship with some guys in the church. And they surveyed, they talked to each one of those.
Interesting. I didn't know about that. What was the other thing that they found? You said they found two things.
The other thing is not one of them thought it would happen to them. Not one of them. They thought they were above it. They thought they were
interesting,
too good. I'll send it to you. The survey.
I'd like to see it. Yeah, that I think I like that study. I also think that was vernacular that I'm personally turning away from right now. So accountability, that was a big deal. I've been in my share of men's accountability groups. Right. I'm for accountability for sure. Yeah. And if you have friendships, true friendships, you're going to have accountability. But we went through in the American church a season of accountability groups, which was, I like to call it anti-whack-off groups. We just, guys got together and the top guy is going, did you masturbate? Did you masturbate? And this is before you could even have online porn. And then for a lot of guys, like, okay, this is my report card time. I got to show up and give and they just died. No man can bear up under that understanding of accountability. But I do think accountability is a healthy mark of what happens in a genuine friendship.
Right. It should be an outcome. It should be just as a
Yes.
result, it just naturally happens. As you talk about life, your struggles, your joys, your victories, your challenges, it doesn't have to be, okay, now it's our accountability time, right?
Right.
We're just going to all sit down and it becomes sort of a fruit picking time, and we're judging each other. And and there's this, what I discovered is that there was so much shame involved in it. The guys were actually just leaving because they didn't want to, be in that situation that was so judgmental.
Yes.
So, yeah. Good. Brian, as we come to a close here, this has gone so fast, but you mentioned some of the resources that you have available. Is there anything that you want to, places where guys can hear more about your ministry, or read, maybe hear more about you or learn more about you that we can put in the show notes?
Yeah.
For the guys.
Well, I've got a website called briantome.com. Very innovative name. I don't know who came up with it, but briantome.com. And I've got some articles I've written over the years that are on there. And you can also get links to, I've done a book, devotional for men called Move. And I've got some other books I've done for men, and a study guide, discussion guide for men. So all that stuff is on there. So anyone's welcome to go there at any point.
Great. So just for the listeners, we will get all that information on there. I've actually read through a lot of Move, the devotional, and it's a great devotional, especially with the new year coming up. I mean, you could start at any time, but since it is the new year coming up, you could jump in. Yeah,
it's a rare one. It's one of the rare ones that have a masculine tongue. Mm-hmm. And I was just shocked a couple of weeks ago. I don't know if you saw it or not, but Damar Hamlin was in GQ magazine. He's the guy who had the heart attack, on the field in Cincinnati, actually playing for the Buffalo Bills, and then he was nursed back to health here in Cincinnati before he started his long recovery process. But they asked him what are the 10 things that he can't live without, and one of them is he held up my book. He said, "This book right here." Yeah, he held up Move. He said, "This book right here, couldn't live without it. It's really helped me this year spiritually." And I was like, oh my gosh, I had zero idea whatsoever. So, then part of it is there's not a lot of devotionals, I think, that are written for men in the masculine tongue.
Yeah, I agree. There's only one other one that I know of. Maybe there's more.
Which one's that?
That's the one that Stuart Briscoe did probably about 2 years ago. And he wrote it Jill did one for women, Stuart did one for men. And it's a men's devotional. But that was the only one I had seen until a couple of years ago, a guy gave me yours. And so now I've been pushing yours and recommending it when I'm about speaking and stuff. So,
all right. Well, Stuart Briscoe's, you can't get a much better pedigree of a name than that. So I didn't know that he had done this. So I'm gonna get that, Steve. Thank you.
No, it's good.
Yeah.
So. All right. Well, Brian, hey, thanks so much again for being a part of this, and thanks for your willingness to be part of the conference this year. And so on behalf of Brian and myself, we want to thank everyone that has listened today. And again, if this has been helpful, just pass it on, share it with your team of leaders, with the other small group leaders at your church, the guys in your sphere of influence. I think the things that Brian talked about as far as the masculine tongue and what that looks like, and the fact that men connect with things, boy, that is such a great principle and so important for each one of us. So guys, have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you for joining the No Regrets Leadership Podcast. For more information and to access past recordings, please visit www.noregretsmen.org/podcast.
MK Cellular, your local U.S. Cellular authorized agent, is a proud supporter of No Regrets Men's Ministry. Find our locations at mkcellular.com.